spot here. All right. Good afternoon. It is Monday, May 1st, and I'm calling the Park and Recreation Committee meeting to order. We do have a quorum present. Number 2 on the agenda, are there any public comments or suggestions today? I see none. I will continue. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from Monday, April 3rd. Motion made by
I'll make the motion.
Alder Larson and a second by Tom Killian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passed. Move on to number 4, discussion and possible action approving Sylvan Hill Bike Park improvements. That I'm going to turn over to Jamie.
All right, thank you. So this is a similar project to what we brought forward to the Parks Committee in the past. Seawalk, as you know, has done much of the work out at Sylvan Hill, as well as our 9 Mile County Forest on the bike trails. They're very committed to keeping these trails in the best possible shape as they can, as well as improving them when they can. So they do have funding available to do some upgrades to their high traffic trails. They're talking about Bad Rabbit and Sylvan's Loop, if you know what those are, or you might want to go check it out. Sylvan's Loop, I believe, is the one that goes around the entire park that is more of the beginner's trail. And then I think Bad Rabbit has some jumps in. So they're going to be rebuilding some of the soil in there and some of the lips that they have, and then bringing in some more flagstone for some of the obstacles that they have. We did go out for RFP. We have 3 companies that we send these RFPs to for work on trails. We only got one back from Mainline Trail Construction. It is the same company that has done much of the work out there before. And I think in your packet, I have what Seawalk put in as this is what they're asking to be done. Maintenance to 12 different berms and the flagstone on 10 jumps. And then you can see where they are. The Sylvan's Loop is the one furthest to, that would be the east. Bad Rabbit would be the one furthest to the west. Mainline Construction, this is the bid that we got in. It does meet that threshold to have the RFPs. Like I said, we sent it to 3, got 1 in return. And they have the funding. We've done this before with them, where they provide the funding to the city, and the city pays the contractor and inspects all the work that's being done, along with Seawalk volunteers as well. So I'm just looking for approval from the committee to enter into contract with Mainline Trail Construction for this work that will be funded completely by Seawalk.
Do we need a motion, or we just, okay, I'm looking for a motion then to approve, or I should say for the committee to approve or to go ahead and execute an agreement with Mainline Trail Construction. Do I have a motion? Motion by Carol, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion passed. I'm going to let you take number 6 as well. No, I'm sorry, number 5 as well, please.
Okay. So our capital improvement projects requests are due on June 2nd, and I think our meeting is June 4th or 5th, I guess whatever the agenda says, June 5th. So I wanted to just bring these items to your attention. I don't have the complete packets filled out for each project yet, but I wanted to talk through them with you as we work towards we're in the process of getting some updated quotes for some of these projects as well. Many of them are carryover projects that we've had for a number of years. Typically, they haven't been getting funded. So I did include in your packet the pictures of the areas that we're looking at. Sylvan parking lot, this will be, I think, the 4th year that I've put this on the agenda. These pictures were taken 4 years ago, but as you can tell, it hasn't gotten any better because we haven't done anything to it. So it's really almost gravel out at Sylvan parking lot. We did have a quote last year. We're just getting updated quotes on that this year to have that done. Similar to Riverside Park parking lot, I did have that on the request for last year as well. So this would be a returning, I think this is the 2nd year I put it on. I have pictures. This is I guess it would be the north side of the parking lot, and then this big, I should have put a pop can in there to show you how deep this hole is, but this is the south end of the parking lot. So it's just this is the entire parking lot. You can't really see both ends too well, but as you come in, you can see this parking lot is pretty much in disrepair and needs more than just some patching. So to look at asphalt, we know that asphalt is not the prettiest thing to put CIP dollars for, but it's really one of the only ways we can get these areas funded. So those are two requests I was going to put in. And then this is Airport Park, Alexander Airport Park tennis courts. This will be, I think, the second or third year that this one is on the CIP request as well. This, you can see in the pictures, there's all this cracking in it. This court needs a full reconstruction. It's no longer just top coat and paint that needs to be redone. Crack filling won't help this anymore, so this is a larger project. We typically have tried to do 2 tennis courts per year when they were funded, which was quite a few years now since we've had the last ones funded. But this one, because it's a complete reconstruction, and then the only other one we have left that would be reconstruction, potentially would be Memorial Park. If we want to continue with that, we're looking at all those assets and planning on the long-term plan of those, but Alexander Airport Park one is pretty heavily used. It is lined for pickleball as well, but that is in need of repair. Then to finish up our playground replacement that we've been doing for, I think, the last 7 years, we did not get one funded last year through CIP. We did get one, the Worley Park or the Lincoln Tot Lot, funded through the Community Development Block Grant Fund. This one is our Highland Park playground. It's reached its useful life, so it's almost 20 years old. It has, it's the last one really to be replaced. The next one after this to be replaced would be Westview Terrace, which is over by Wausau West High School. That one technically maybe has a couple of years where we could replace that, but that would be our next one. And then all the playgrounds will have been replaced. But Highland Park, this playground does not qualify for Community Development Block Grant funds because of the area of the city that it's in. So this would be our second to last playground to replace as part of the entire playground replacement within the city. And this is a heavily populated area up in Highland Park, but this playground, as you can see, is very dated. It's old. It's got some areas where we need to do some improvements on it to keep it at code, and also has very little play value. So this will be on the request. This picture, the top one, doesn't really do anything. It just shows the elevator, but the elevators at Athletic Park are a pain. They've been nothing but problems since they've been put in, because technically they're indoor elevators put in an outdoor facility, so we constantly have issues with them. Currently, this is the elevator that's on the far west side on the first base line underneath the Aspirus deck, I think that is. It's currently even inoperable. It's going to cost us $13,000 just to get it operable for this season, because we have a lot of corrosion, we have a lot of rusting, there's some cables that need to be replaced. So we are getting a quote for this elevator. We potentially could make it through 1 or 2 more years with this elevator, but it is going to need a replacement, so I'm putting it on the docket now to have you start thinking about it. If we can't get an outdoor elevator, some of the things we've thought about is building onto this building, you know, a little bit of a entryway that would be covered entryway that you'd have to enter and then get on the elevator, so more like a little vestibule that would keep it out of the elements as a possibility, but we're doing that research with the elevator company. It would be awesome if we could build a ramp somewhere at Athletic Park and get rid of the lifts and the elevators altogether, but that takes a lot of land, so that is something we'll look into, but it's going to be a while before that can be constructed. Outdoor elevators at outdoor facility are just not good. And then this is one I should have had on the CIP last year. It's the Athletic Park. It's these pillars. These pictures don't do it justice for how bad these pillars are in shape, how bad they are. These ones are on the first base side. Sorry, this elevator's on the third base side, so I said that wrong. These pillars are on the first base side. They're right next to the ticket booth, So if you're looking at the ticket booth, these would be to the right of that. You can see on these, it's not very good in these pictures, but right here on each of these caps is a thick caulk line and paint line of where the old building sat. The old building would sit on these pillars on this side and on the other side of the ticket booth, so both of those wings off the ticket booth. And when the renovations were done and that old building was taken off of those pillars, nothing was done to those, so those tops are really deteriorating. We do have one company in town called Kowalski Masonry that is one of the only ones that does this specific work on these historic walls and rock structures. They're the same company that did the Stewart Park pillars and the big stone pieces at the top of the pillars. So we're having them look at it right now, but then that will go out for bid or for quote as well, although Kowalski may be one that's a sole source because of their specific work. But this, we're thinking, we have about 5 pillar caps that need to be updated or remolded and fixed, because in this area, there's a bathroom right here. We do, from time to time, have pieces of those pillars falling down, so it's crumbling onto the ground and just really in need of repair on top of those historic walls.
Now, at this point, are you asking for the committee for a motion or just to let us know what is in the future?
Well, I think I would like to just hear from the committee on your thoughts on any of these projects. Is there ones that you feel strongly, because we rank these when we put them towards in priority. Is there ones that you feel strongly should go forward, should not go forward? I mean, ultimately, this will come to the CIP committee and then to the city council. But as the Parks Committee, I've typically brought you the projects for you to say, yes, we support that, no, we don't. Or is there something I'm missing in a project that I don't have on this list that we need to do and put it on our list?
Ms. Polly, what kind of money are you looking at for all these projects? I mean, obviously, this parking lot, you're going to pave that. You're looking at repaving that, is that correct?
Yep.
And I don't know if that's, is that one on the top of your list? Because Sullivan Hill gets pretty much used a lot all year round, does it not?
Yeah.
I mean, for the bike
It is.
trails and
Yep.
the tubing hill and stuff?
Yeah, Sylvan Hill is probably our most heavily used parking lot. Riverside Park is used year-round as well. Not quite as heavily because it doesn't have this tubing hill, but it is a year-round building. I mean, all these items I'm bringing forward to you are really deferred maintenance. Other than maybe the elevator is something new because it's a newer thing that eventually needs to be replaced. The elevator is going to be extremely expensive, so that's why we get it on the request now that you know that it's coming or something that we have to address down the line. Like I said, we're going to get it assessed here as we get it fixed, but we maybe could make it work for 1 or 2 more years, but eventually it's going to need to be replaced. You know, all of this has sat there for many, many years. Every year I put, as we all do, probably put, a couple $100,000 towards requests of CIP, but the city council only has a certain amount that you can allocate to CIP, and we all ask for it, so it's really up to you to prioritize what you think is in need of repair more. These are just park projects, so there's going to be multiple other projects coming forward from police, fire, public works. I guess for my opinion, I don't have a preference on any of these because they're all in need of repair or replacement, and just, the further we put them down the line, the more deteriorating they're going to be.
I don't have any preference. I do have a question about one of them, the Riverside Park parking lot reconstruction. That tends to flood quite substantially at times, and I was just wondering, when that's reconstructed, will there be a need to repair some sort of stormwater sewer portion there, or is that just from the kind of decay of the parking lot itself, do you or Mr. Lindman know that answer?
Eric didn't know he was going to be put on the spot today.
Oh.
I personally do not know that. I think that's probably something we'll assess as we really get into this, but I'm not sure.
I think with the size of the project, it would probably require a stormwater management plan, which would address what issues there are and see if there's additional design costs as we get into the design, or Parks does, yeah.
Thanks, and I just didn't know maybe if at times, like in the fall, it was leaves that were getting in there and kind of blocking it and causing the flooding, but,
Yeah, I really don't know. That very well could be, but I couldn't tell you.
well, I guess we'll just wait on the edge of our seat and see what happens
Might
then.
have to,
Okay,
Tom,
yes,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carol?
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. I guess my question is, in terms of priority, are there any that are, that pose real safety threats? Like, I'm thinking of of course, the pillars, you said there's, pieces sometimes falling. And you can, if you look closely, you can see cracks in the far one. And the other thing is like the tennis court, are there any, I guess, cracks or anything that would pose a tripping threat or something like that? I guess that when I think about priority, yeah, they all could use work, but maybe
Yeah.
that.
We would definitely prioritize them that way, but yeah, the pillars do pose a little bit of risk with, they typically don't, they fall right along the wall and there's these pillars there, so there's not a lot of activity along that wall. We do have the ability to probably put tarps up here too to hold them back, so we keep monitoring all of these items, and if it does pose even a higher risk, we'll do mitigation to make sure people aren't there, but a tarp hanging over this beautiful stadium is not going to look very good. But this one, yes, is definitely one that's really in a bad state that probably would be a priority to get those caps fixed, at least a couple of them. The elevator at Athletic Park is a requirement for ADA, so that is we have to have an operating elevator or lift in order to get people in the stadium. That was why it was required in the first place when this was built. So that is something we do have to address, and whether that, like I said, is the ramp down the line or these elevators. The ramp is just challenging because we don't have a lot of land without going into the park. If this playground, the way we address it, like if this playground or the tennis court become where we do see issues of that they don't meet safety regulations anymore, or that there are cracks that could hurt somebody, we will just close the facility. We can lock the tennis court up so that people can't use it. We can take the playground right out, and we have done that before with playgrounds that we know eventually are going to be replaced. We're not going to spend the money to put any money into them. We'll just take them out. So that's what we will do if these, besides the parking lots, the parking lots just kind of stay as they are until they're ready to be fixed. But everything else we can take out of usage if we see that it poses a risk, and we do monitor that as well.
Jamie, I really think priority is definitely the columns at Athletic Park should be taken care of, as well as the elevator if you could. Again, the parking lots are priority because I know that they're very well used, but again, it would be hard to really prioritize because they're all important, things that we need to be done. But I think, like I said, the columns and the elevator and the parking lots, to me, would be most important. I don't know about the rest of the committee, what your thoughts are.
I tend to agree, but I also want to say to you, Ms. Polly, thank you for bringing us these in advance. Too many times these committees get put in a position where, I need something done and I need something done yesterday. Our next meeting at SISM is a perfect example of that. So I just want to say thank you for bringing this to us so we're aware, so when they do come to need fixing or repair, we've been aware of it. And I tend to agree. I think that the priorities remain there with the beams because, that could be a structural failure. We don't need a structural failure there. And also, I I see that Sullivan Hill parking lot needs to be addressed. Judging by the cracks and stuff, it hasn't been sealed, and it's just breaking up.
Yeah, it's getting to almost a gravel state at the moment.
So
Road
if
base.
that were my priorities, I would do that, but that's my thoughts, and thank you.
One thing we try to do too, so these are what we're bringing forward for 2024, but we're asked also to put out into a 5-year plan, and we all do that. So some of those items, we don't always spend a lot of time on that 5-year plan, but I encourage you, as you get those projects from all the departments, to look at that 5-year, because many of our projects that we bring forward that we may not, have for that particular year are on that 5-year plan, so they're on our radar, just not, and then sometimes they jump to the forefront before we even want them to, and then we have to address them. But we try to do our best to put them on that 5-year plan as well, because there's other things that we've got to address, 5 years out from now or within the next couple of years. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a feeling too of what might be coming. So,
Okay, we can move on?
yeah,
I'm-
there's nothing that you feel I'm missing
Oh.
as far as projects or anything? It sounds like everything on here is at least supported to move forward.
Correct. Yep.
Tom has something.
Alder Lark, here we go again. Alder Killian?
That's okay. Thank you. So when you submit these to CIP, you include the photos and things like that?
Yeah.
Good, because I think it's important, and when things are kind of decaying or imploding structurally, you'd think that would be a priority for the CIP committee. I think last year, 2 million was prioritized for some MBX property acquisition. So I think when we see things like this, and if there are photos included, hopefully they will take that into account. It seems like a much greater priority. Thank you.
I'm going to move on to 6A, park updates. Under park maintenance, the Barker Stewart Bridge decking replacement is nearly complete. Playground inspections have been complete for the spring opening, which requires daily maintenance. We're preparing the pools to start filling in 2 weeks. Schofield parking lot resurfacing with road base is completed. Water meters are being installed, and staff is starting up park restrooms and shelters. Tennis nets are installed at Oak Island. Regarding the spring and summer recreation guide, the spring and summer recreation guide is now 100% digital and can be viewed on the department website. To date, the department has received positive feedback of this new change. The digital version allows staff to update the information as needed so that the most current information is available to the community. On athletic fields, I'm going to pronounce this correctly, Boileau use has begun. I'm sorry, ball field use has begun. Boileau outfield fence is done along with turf work in the ball diamond. Under athletic park, the video board is near complete, waiting on the netting. Power to the scoreboard will be in this week. Work to install pace of play clocks. Under urban forestry, Earth Day fruit orchard planting complete in the 10th Street Park, and there were 17 fruit trees that were planted. Tree planting has started in the boulevards and parks. Emerald ash borer is being identified in all areas of the city, and removals continue. And regarding tree planting, I'm going to throw this in. For anybody who was aware of Arbor Day, they had wonderful volunteers come down to Marathon Park, and they planted 200 trees. And I have to share with you, there was a gentleman there from Mexico. He was now promoted to sales, and in the meantime, he was there to help out. And of course, there was a competition between one of the main important employees and this gentleman from Mexico, Luis, and they were counting. And the gentleman that was sitting in the office said, well, I've got 2, 3, and here's Luis saying 13, 14, 15 trees. But what he wasn't sharing is the gentleman from Mexico was having the little seedlings, whereas the gentleman from the office was going for the bigger trees. So I guess they had quite a laugh out of that. But they did replace 200 trees in the park, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. And even just driving past the park now, you can glance over and see the trees. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, thank you for speaking at that.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, and I thought it was wonderful. Jamie, I'm going to let you do the skate park update, please.
Yep. Just want to go back to one thing on the park updates. For that athletic park, if you're not sure what the pace of play clocks are, if you're aware, the Major League Baseball has now put in a clock for their pitchers and how fast they have to go, and so they've implemented down at the Northwoods League level as well, so we have to install these pace of play clocks to keep it going. So they're trying to keep up with Major League Baseball. All right, skate park update. I was hoping to have a skate park design to show you today, but I'm not quite ready to make it public quite yet because we're still working through some things. But we began the design last September when you approved the Spawn Ranch doing the design. So actually we began in January with them. We had 2 public meetings where we had pretty good attendance from some really core users of the skate park that came. Then we also had an online public survey that had a pretty good feedback as well. I can get you the number. I thought I had put it in there, but I don't know how many people took that survey, although I can get that information. But the resounding feedback from everybody who took the survey and from those that attended the meeting was, about the style of the skate park. Do you want it to be a high-level skate park with some really high elements, a bowl like Weston has? And the members that we all talked to said, no, Weston already has that. They have the higher level skate park. We want one that resembles more of the street skate feel. So stairs, railing, ramps, benches, stuff like that. So Spawn Ranch came back with multiple designs. Then at that March 30th meeting, we did have those designs available for comment. And there's a really big desire to add new features, but also include our current ramps. Our current ramps can be reused. They just have to be resurfaced with the skate-like material that's on there. That's the black pieces of the skate ramps. They can be reused. The biggest cost is adding the extra concrete on to basically double the size of our skate park would be what that is. So that's where we're at a little sticking point right now is we currently have about $270,000 in the bank for it through the ARPA dollars, through grants, and through donations. The concept that they've come back with now to incorporate our current ramps is closer to 5. And so that is, pretty much doubling what we have. And we're working with the skateboard community. We're going to apply for some grants through the Community Foundation to really get a better idea of what is we know that we were going to fundraise for some additional funding, but what is the realistic number that we can shoot for before we can bid the project out. So working through some of that because that will maybe change the design a bit. So I didn't want to put a design out there, get everybody's all excited and then have to cut back on it a little bit. So we're hopefully going to finish that in the next couple of weeks, apply for some of those grant dollars and then have a design. It'd be nice to have one for your June meeting when we meet, and then we'll be bidding out sometime this summer for probably, if we can get the funding, a late fall construction.
Under 6C, Riverside Park remediation update, the City Council approved the budget amendment to fund the remediation work on Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. The city engineer will work with the contractor to establish the schedule for completing the work.
Yeah, basic.
Our next meeting date...
Madam
I'm
Chair?
sorry. Alder Killian.
Thank you. I think it's a very positive step forward. I do have a few questions for Mr. Lindman briefly, if that's okay.
Thanks for coming to the meeting tonight.
Yes, thank you. Wealth of knowledge.
Not yet, but hopefully.
Okay, thanks. Yes, I think this is very positive, something the committee and the public has worked on for some time. And I just wanted to bring, I think there's some questions I heard recently regarding some of the park matters and remediation. So I just wanted to run a few things by you. So the DNR gave the city of Wausau a responsible party letter tender a few years ago for this property, correct? It was not really an elective where the city said, we want to spend a bunch of money, let's test and remove dirt, right? The DNR gave the city a responsible party letter.
Yep, that's correct.
Yes, and then I believe some of these samples were at a 2 to 3 inch depth approximately, maybe an inch or so more. That's pretty close to surface, true surface, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, yeah, rarely do I even see tests that shallow, so that's about as true surface as you get. And then a couple of things I wanted to mention that I think the state standard with dioxins in soil for non-industrial, it's 5 parts per trillion TEQ roughly, a little under that. And these were over, some of these levels were over 20 times higher than that state standard in non-industrial soil, and this is something you'll find interesting. I think it shows how important this work has been for the community and the city and why this is so positive. I had the opportunity to review DNR and DHS documents in Superior, Wisconsin, for the Coppers Beezer site there, and they were doing an evaluation of what they thought were protective cleanup levels for Superior, Wisconsin in recreation scenarios, and DHS was pretty insistent that in a recreational scenario, such as a park, I imagine, that the cleanup level should be down to 13 parts per trillion dioxin TEQ, and depending on which TEF scheme was used for the levels in the park, they would have been at up to 108 to 140 parts per trillion. So that was actually 8 to 10 times higher, the levels in Riverside Park, than the recommended protective cleanup level in Superior, Wisconsin, when DNR and DHS collaborated. So I only had those few questions, but I think it's very positive what's occurred, and hopefully that adds some clarity to the situation in the park for the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next meeting will be Monday, June 5th at 4:30 PM in the council chambers. And for adjournment, I'm going to take a motion.
I so make the motion.
Alder Larson, and a second by Tom Killian. All in favor of the meeting to be adjourned?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Meeting motion passed, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jamie. I wasn't sure how long my voice was going to hold out.
No, that was good.
Your mic's still on.
I've got